We'll estimate now a brick and tile residence. We'll first select the template. We'll notice that all the items for the estimate have been prepared. Some items are displayed in blue. These are what we call inclusion prescriptions and will be a choice during the estimating process. And some items are displayed in maroon, and these are what we call selection prescriptions and also are available during the estimating process. The Build with Prescriptions tab simply makes some of those items that are automatically calculated become not visible during this section, which simply means the list of items to answer is less. We'll go into CAD Image, which will allow us to do a takeoff of the drawing. First thing we need to do is open the drawing. We're selecting a PDF file. If the PDF had multiple pages, we could select the page or we could select the DPI. First thing we must do before we estimate anything is set the scale. To do that, we need to find a nice large dimension on the drawing. Select linear meters from our selection choices and then simply measure the dimension. Right click stores the value. Calculate will pop up a window where we will enter the dimension. Once we've done that, we no longer need that information and we can clear it from the list. The items that require measurement are displayed in the window as we scroll through them. These will be the items that we will be measuring. First item is internal floor area. We can edit the scale to get more of the drawing in. Simply locate a corner of the building, left click, as we were measuring just the floor area of the home, we are excluding the garage and store. When we get to the second last point, we can right click, which stores the value. Calculate brings it up into the list. Build puts it in the job. This is where those prescription items are displayed. Here we can choose what we require. The second part of the prescriptions are the selection items, where we can choose what method of construction we are requiring for this particular estimate. We can, if required, change any of the materials to an item that's within our price list. If there's an item that is required but not in our price list, we can double click and simply add a new material. Once we're satisfied with the selection, submit selections. This locates the next items that are associated with the selections, and again we can choose what is required. Since we've selected a concrete slab, it requires the slab thickness. Again in meters. Outside floor area al fresco as before. In this instance, we'll change to a gyprock ceiling with brick paving. If we want to automatically save the values into the yellow list, which is the equivalent of the right mouse click, we can click the Auto button, which will save the details at each right click. When I right click, we'll notice that the values go straight up into the list to build. As before, we make our selections. We'll change the grano in the carport to 100 millimeters. We will put timber ceiling lining to the porch area. Painter is not required. Veranda is the next item. If the project doesn't have a veranda, we simply go to the next record. Eave lining area, this is simply the area of eaves. Right click stores that value, but there is more to measure. Right click. In this instance, I've actually made an error. The porch area had already been calculated, so I can simply just delete the last record. And redo it. Here we have a choice of fibro lining per square metre or in sheet sizes. We could use the original information by using a combination of the Shift key or the Control key. Which gives us the total value, or we can simply measure it. Tiled floor area, we're simply measuring the gross area of the floor. So we'll notice this bathroom has a bath and a shower screen, no spa bath and no toilet. Tiling, we'll change the allowance. This ensuite has no spa. There's no items required for the laundry. And we'll leave the tiling at $35 per square metre. This warning is just simply letting you know that you've selected 2 items from the same category. As we need to measure the crossover, we can open another tab. Select the site plan. As before, page to open or DPI. So as we see now, we have 2 tabs, floor plan and site plan. As before, we will need to set the scale. 21.79. As before, it's no longer required as the scale is set. Crossover. Now we'll notice that the cursor is moving in 45-degree increments. We can actually disable that constrain function so we can measure more precisely. We can use the scroll wheel of the mouse. Okay, external walls, we'll go back to our floor plan and we'll actually open up another tab for our elevations. Here we can see the wall height. So when we're doing our wall measuring, and as before, I'm measuring the walls that are external. Right click, we'll measure our piers. Here we'll select what sort of finish it's going to be. It could be timber frame, it could be face brickwork, it could be rough brickwork with render if required. In this instance we'll use external Florentines. There could be insulation, any of the items we are able to select as required. Internal partition walls. Once we're satisfied with all the walls, again we can select the method of construction. If we wanted to change or add something, any of these coloured items mean that we can change its value. So we could have two of those. Here I'm measuring lineal metres of footing. So basically everywhere where we believe the concrete foundations will be. Where there's a post, we will add some concrete. And where there are piers out the back, we'll add some concrete. If trench mesh is required, if it's not, we simply select the not required or not included in contract as the material item. This is advising us that we're trying to remove something that's going to be included with other selections. So we really don't want to do that. And because we've then entered the lineal metres, we need to enter height and width. Additional areas for plaster. Because it is calculating the plaster based on partition walls times 2, cavity walls times 1, this section of wall here was measured as an external wall, so currently it's not being plastered. So we've simply added that to the plastered area. Windows. We'll pick some windows to start with, and we'll start with these 6 courses by 10 courses by 10 bricks. 6 courses is approximately 0.5. Now you would be more accurate with your brick chart. And we can give it a room. So we're going to measure some windows that are 0.5 high, family room. So we'll just start here to here, here to here. So clearly we've got a couple of windows, 0.5 high, family room. Move on, we'll do this one. As I say, these measurements I'm putting in are simply guesses. Now, as these windows all have items that are associated with them, if we wanted the selections to be based on each window, we can click the prompt button, which will bring the selection up for each item. We'll see here that this is bed 4. So if we wanted to, as an example, not have nosings, we would simply turn it off. The next window is the bathroom. Clearly we don't want nosings, but if we wanted no lintels in that particular room. Bed 4, again, no lintels, but we may want nosings. B3 could be the same, but we may want a lintel in there. Entry, no nosings. Now these selections I'm making are simply to demonstrate what you can do. It would be a bit unusual to have some windows with nosings and some without, but you're clearly able to do so. Now we'll measure the wardrobes, and we'll do the depth of the shelving. So we're using 0.45 shelving. And we could have 2 pillar ends. If we don't want the prompt to come up for each item, we simply disable it. If that same situation was to have 4 shelves, we could simply change it and rebuild it. Each time we rebuild, it removes the original value and replaces it with the new. Here we can choose Colorbond Gutters, so we won't require painting. The fascia also will do in Colorbond, and again we won't paint it. Standard fixed items. These are some of the things that are associated with most projects, and rather than measuring them one by one, we simply select one of the prescription value of all of these items. Similar with fixed fees and charges. These are all the items that will be included with the fixed fees and charges. Now all these things are user definable. The standard prescriptions with BEAMS include these items, but you are able to add, remove, change, modify any of the items that we're looking at now in the prescription list. If we didn't want sales commissions and marketing fees, we'd simply turn them on. Columns, joinery frame. As always, any of the items can be changed. Drawer furniture, all the associated items for that particular prescription. External single frames, now these are metal frames. If we want to, we can actually decide the sizes and go beyond simply estimating and start the process that we would require at scheduling. So we could say so I'm going to be measuring 820 left hand, so there's one here. So we notice it'll put the description field in there ready to be used at ordering stage. Internal double frames, there are none. Internal single frames, as before. This will be our lift-off hinge in the toilet. We can select to put a bayonet somewhere as required. Here we're measuring valley flashings. Now if the frame is not the one that's required, we are able to select any other item from our price list. We notice there are a couple of 150s. We'll add those. And it's another 200 UB that I just spotted. Plaster beads. Coffered ceilings, kitchen cabinets. And we'll add an appliance code. Because it's calculating the plumber as we go, it's making provisions for water service and fixture plumbing. If there were 2 basins, we would simply enter 2. That's it. That's the end of the estimate. All the information required is completed. We'll notice that everything in the job has now been priced. Everything within the job is estimated. We can, from here, lock items which won't allow them to be manipulated, or we could print off the customer's addenda. That, I'm happy to say, is the end.